Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Hassan Akhtar Nisar and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss a very important thing. This is going to be a very important lecture because I'm going to discuss more than 10 different plays, very famous ones, basic and very inevitable information about these plays. And believe you me, it took me 2 days to collect all these data, and you are lucky enough because you are going to learn it all in just half an hour. Here are the key facts of the 10 very important plays in the English language. We will be starting with A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. So let's see what we have. Full title of the play is A Doll's House. The author is Henrik Ibsen, and type of work is play. I mean, it's a play, it's a drama, and the genre is realistic modern prose drama. So you have to understand this. This is not classical. This is realistic and modern prose drama. The language is obviously English. Time and place of A Doll's House is 1879, Rome and Amalfi in Italy. Date of first publication is 1879, so you have to remember this because any of such thing must be touched. The protagonist of the play is Nora Helmer. Major conflict in this play is Nora's struggle with Rogstad, who threatens to tell her husband about her past crime, and she's afraid, although she's doing everything for her own husband. And I can remember when I was at the campus, we were studying in the masters in English language, and it was very fun when we started this play. You know, this whole girls side was at one side. They would support Nora Helmer, and we the boys, particularly me, against her desire, her decision that she abandoned her children. And it was great. It took us 5 consecutive days and we kept on discussing. You remember that? Waqar Yusuf and Kanwar Chima and Uzma and Lala Rabe and the others. The rising action in A Doll's House is when Nora start a conversation with Mrs. Lind, Rogstad's visit and blackmailing of Nora, Rogstad's delivery of the letter that later exposes Nora. So that is a rising action. Climax is when Torvald reads Rogstad's letter and he gets angry, and all that fight erupts. Falling action is when Nora's realization that Torvald is devoted not to her but to the idea of her as a pet, as someone who depends on him. Her decision to abandon him to find independence. This was, shocking thing for me when I was in masters. Setting by time is presumably around the late 1870s, and setting by place is Norway. So all this happened in Norway. Foreshadowing Nora's eating of macaroons, like cookies, biscuits, against Torvald's wishes, foreshadows her later rebellion against Torvald. The tone is serious, intense, and somber. The themes are the sacrificial role of women, parental and filial obligations, the unreliability of appearances. The motifs are Nora's definition of freedom and letters, because letters pops up again and again. So you understand. I told you motifs are the ideas which appear again and again in a play, like a design in carpet. Lastly, symbols. The Christian tree is a symbol and New Year's Day is another symbol. So ladies and gentlemen, our second play is An Ideal Husband, a comedy by Oscar Wilde, and the full title of the play is An Ideal Husband. Author is Oscar Wilde. Type of work, it's a play, a drama. Genre is romantic melodrama. ये आपने याद रखना है, romantic melodrama. Language obviously English. Time and place 1894 in London. Date of first publication 1895. You have to remember these kind of things because the paper setter might touch these. Publishers L. Smithers. Most of Oscar Wilde's plays were published by L. Smithers. Protagonist is Sir Robert Chiltern and Lady Chiltern, Lord Goring. And as far as the climax is concerned, there is no particular climax in this play. Falling action comes at the end of Act 4, where Sir Robert accepts his cabinet post and reconciles with his wife. Setting by time is 1895 and setting by place is London. Its tone is differentiated according to characters. Different characters have different tones. Tense is present. Themes, this is important. The ideal marriage is one theme. The ideal woman, aestheticism, and the art of modern living are four important and basic symbols in an ideal husband. Motifs: wit and irony, paradox, hyperbole, and melodramatic speech. The symbols are the Rococo tapestry and the diamond brooch. And that's it for an ideal husband. We are moving next to Arms and the Man by George Bernard Shaw. So the full title is Arms and the Man, written by George Bernard Shaw. Type of work, it's a play. Obviously we are talking about plays. Genre is comedy of manners and social satire. Language is obviously English again. Time and place, London 1893. And date of first performance, it's not publication, remember, date of first performance is 1894 and in London again. The narrator is, as I told you, there are no particular narrators in the plays. Novel has a narrator, so play does not have a narrator, but there are scene descriptions and stage in addition to the dialogue. Point of view, the play has no particular point of view as in fiction. The audience sees all characters equally and externally. Protagonist is Raina or Reina, whatever the way you like to pronounce it. Major conflict is Catherine and Raina worry that Sergius and Petkoff will realize that they harbored Bluntschli in their home in secret during the war. Rising action is when Bluntschli arrives back at the Petkoff estate in Act 2 to return Petkoff's coat. Okay. Climax is when Bluntschli reveals his love for Raina her love for Bluntschli, and Luca and Sergius admit to their affair. Falling action is when Bluntschli makes a formal offer of marriage to Raina, who accepts, and Sergius offers marriage to Luca, who also accepts, and after goading him into doing it. Setting by time is 1885 to 1886. Setting by place is Bulgaria, the Petkoff estate. Tone is social critique. Tense is present. And themes in Arms and the Man are disillusionment with war, complexity of romantic love, the arbitrary nature of social status. Motifs are ill-timed entry, romantic affairs, the soul of a servant. And symbols are Petkoff's coat, chocolate creams, and the library. So that's it for Arms and the Man. Our next play is Deaths of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. Full title is Death of a Salesman, Certain Private Conversations in 2 Acts and a Requiem. Author is Arthur Miller. Type of work, it's a play obviously again. Genre, tragedy, social commentary, and family drama. So these are the 3 different names we can name it. Language is English again. Time and place, 6 weeks in 1984 in a shed in Connecticut. Date of first publication is 1949 and publishers are the Viking Press in America. Protagonists Willy Loman and Biff Loman. Again, they would be the antagonists as well, and also the American Dream in addition. Falling action, the Requiem section, although the play is not really structured as a classical drama. Okay, so falling action is not a very typical thing in it. Climax scene in Frank's chop house and Biff's final confrontation with Willie at home. Setting by time is today. I mean, it's in present with the daydreams into Willie's past, with the exception of the past dreams that Willie Loman takes dreaming. Setting by place, so Willie Loman's house and yard in Brooklyn and various places he visits in New York and Boston. Foreshadowing is Willie's flute theme foreshadows the revelation of his father's occupation and abandonment. Willy's preoccupation with Linda's stockings foreshadows his affair with the women. You remember that if you have read that. Willy's automobile accident before the start of Act 1 foreshadows his suicide at the end of Act 2. The tone of Death of a Salesman is tender, tragic, and brutally honest. I mean, very, very brutally honest. Tense, the present again. Themes, the American dream, abandonment, and betrayals. The motifs are the mystic figures which appear here and there, the American West, Alaska, and the African jungle. The last thing is symbol, and the symbols in Death of a Salesman are seeds and diamonds, Linda's and the women's stockings, and the rubber hose. So that's it for Death of a Salesman. Our next play is very, very famous one, Dr. Faustus, Christopher Marlowe. Remember this is very, very important. The full title of the play is The Tragical History of Dr. Faustus first, and then it was changed into The Tragical History of the Life and Death of Dr. Faustus. Author is Christopher Marlowe. Type of work, it's play, obviously. Genre, tragedy. Again, language, English. Time and place, early 1590s England. Okay, remember most of Shakespearean tragedies were written again in these time, 1590s to 1596-7. Date of first publication, the A text was first published in 1604 and the B text in 1616, exactly the year Shakespeare died. Publishers, uncertain, possibly Philip Henslow, a theatrical entrepreneur, but we don't know for sure. Narrator, none of the most part but the chorus, classicals में सिर्फ chorus ही होता था narrator के तौर पे. Protagonist, Dr. Faustus himself. Major conflict is when Faustus sells his soul to Lucifer in exchange for 24 years of immense power and authority, but the desire to repent begins to plague him as the fear of hell grows in him. Rising action, Faustus's study of dark magic and his initial conversations with Mephistopheles, the Satan. You remember this name. Climax is when Faustus's sealing of the pact that promises his soul to Lucifer. Falling action, Faustus traveling of the world and performing of magic for various rulers. Setting by time is 1580s. Setting by place is Europe, specifically Germany and Italy. Foreshadowing, the play constantly hints at Faustus's ultimate damnation. His blood congeals when he tries to sign away his soul. Tone, grandiose and tragic, occasional moments of low comedy. The tense of the play, the chorus who provides the only narration, alternates between the present and the past tense. The important themes are sin, redemption and damnation, the conflict between medieval and Renaissance values, absolute power and corruption, the dividedness of human nature. The important motifs in Dr. Faustus are the magic, the supernatural and the practical jobs. The last thing in Dr. Faustus are the symbols, blood, Faustus's rejection of the ancient authorities, the good angel and the evil angel. So that's it for Dr. Faustus. And we are moving to my most favorite, King Lear by William Shakespeare. The full title is The Tragedy of King Lear. It's not just King Lear, it's The Tragedy of King Lear. Author William Shakespeare. Type of work, it's a play. Genre tragedy है, language English है. Time and place, England 1604 to 1605. Date of first publication is first folio edition, 1623, we all know that. The publishers are John Hamming and Henry Condell. Protagonist Lear himself, the king of the Great Britain. The antagonists are the two daughters of King Lear and Edmund, the bastard son of Gloucester. Okay, इसको Gloucester पढ़ना है, इसको Gloucester नहीं पढ़ना, remember this. Major conflict is the power and the betrayal. Rising action when Lear's decision of giving away his kingdom among his daughters. So from there, actually it's from the very beginning that the rising action starts. Climax, Gloucester's blinding in Act 3. Falling action, Cordelia's death. Setting by time is 8th century BC. Setting by place is various locations in England. And foreshadowing, Goneril and Regan's plotting in Act 1 foreshadows their later cruel treatment of the great King Lear. Tone serious and tragic. The occasional bursts of comedy are uniformly dark, by the Fool. Important themes in King Lear are justice, authority versus chaos, reconciliation, and redemption. Motifs, important motifs are madness, betrayal, and death. The symbol is the weather, which changes everywhere. That's it for King Lear. Now we move to Eugene O'Neill's Morning Becomes Electra. I would say a drama worth reading. The full title is Morning Becomes Electra, and author Eugene O'Neill. Type of work, it's a play. Genre, tragedy, and particularly psychological drama. Remember this, okay? Language is English. And time and place, written largely in France from 1926 to 1931. First published in 1931. Publishers Random House. And protagonists Lavinia Manon, Aurene Manon, Christine Manon, Ezra Manon. So it's all about in one family. Major conflict. Ezra Manon returns from the Civil War. His wife Christine and her lover Adam plot his murder. Foreshadowing. The foreshadowing in Morning is oppressive and omnipresent. For example, Ezra's apprehension of his imminent death and Christine's fear that she will soon lose Brant forever. Themes: Oedipus, fate, repetition and substitution, the rival and double, the law of the father. Motifs: the blessed islands, the native, and symbols, the Manon house. That's it for Eugene O'Neill's Morning Becomes Electra. Now we move to Tennessee Williams' Streetcar Named Desire. The full title is A Streetcar Named Desire. Tennessee Williams. Type of work, it's a play and it's a tragedy, and the language is English. Time and place, late 1940s, New Orleans. Date of first publication 1947. Publishers New Directions. The protagonist is Blanche Du Bois. Setting by time is 1940s. Setting by place is New Orleans, Louisiana. Tone ironic है and sympathetic realism. Themes: fantasy's inability to overcome reality, the relationship between sex and death, and dependence on men. Motifs are the light, the bathing, and drunkenness. The symbols are shadows and cries, and that important phrase, it's only a paper moon and meat. And we are moving to The Crucible by Arthur Miller again, the American legend. The full title is The Crucible, written by Arthur Miller, and type of work, it's a play and it's a tragedy, allegory, and historical fiction. Okay, so remember this. Time and place, America, early 1950s. Date of first publication 1953. Publishers Viking Press. And protagonist John Proctor. Antagonist Abigail Williams. Narrator: the play is occasionally interrupted by an omniscient third-person narrator who fills in the background for the characters. The climax is John Proctor tells the Salem court that he committed adultery with Abigail Williams. So that is the climax scene. Falling action is the events from John Proctor's attempt to expose Abigail in Act 4 to his decision to die rather than confess at the end of Act 4. Setting by time in The Crucible is 1692, and setting by place, Salem, a small town in colonial Massachusetts in America. Foreshadowing: the time frame of the play is extremely compressed and the action proceeds so quickly that there is little time for the foreshadowing. So in short, there is no particular foreshadowing. The tone, it's serious and tragic. The language is almost biblical. Tense, it's the present tense. Themes: intolerance, hysteria, and reputation. Motifs: the empowerment, accusation, confession, and legal proceedings. The last thing is symbols. इसमें symbols क्या क्या हैं जी? Though the play itself has a few examples of symbolism beyond typical witchcraft symbols, rats, toads and bats. The entire play is meant to be symbolic, with its witch trials standing in for the anti-communist witch hunts of the 1950s. And the last play is a comedy. I have chosen it deliberately by the darling Shakespeare, The Tempest. So the full title is The Tempest, and the author William Shakespeare. A type of work, it's a play and it's a comedy or romance. Okay, language English. Time and place 1610 to 1611. So remember that after 1610, the rest of his 6 years, Shakespeare wrote mostly comedies. Date of first publication 1623. Obviously, I think it will be in the first folio again. Publishers Isaac Jaggard and Edward Blount. Protagonist Prospero. A major conflict. Prospero, the Duke of Milan and the powerful magician, was banished from Italy and cast to sea by his usurping brother Antonio and Alonso, the King of Naples, who was a friend to Antonio. Rising action begins when Prospero creates the Tempest, causing his enemy's ship to wreck and its passengers to be dispersed about the island. Climax is when Alonso and his party stop to rest, and Prospero causes a banquet to be set out before them just as they are about to eat. Ariel appears in the shape of the harpy and accuses them of their treachery against Prospero. Alonso is overwhelmed with the remorse. Falling action begins when Prospero brings Alonso and the others before him and forgives them. Prospero invites Alonso and his company to stay the night before everyone returns to Italy the next day, where Prospero will resume his dukedom. Setting by time is the Renaissance, and setting by place, an island in the Mediterranean Sea, probably off the coast of Italy. Foreshadowing, Prospero frequently hints at his plans to bring his enemies before him to confront them for their treachery. And the tone of The Tempest is dreamy, mysterious, and magical. You remember that? If you have read, you would agree with it, that it all seems as if one is dreaming, and romance is in the air, and mysterious, and the magic is there, and all that. That's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure that this information will help you a lot. If it really does, please let me know in the comment section. But before you go, you shouldn't forget to like and subscribe to this channel if you really want to have a good preparation. Okay, see you next time.